So, as we mentioned, the whole goal here is to, whatever the goal, again, it's always at 26 minutes and 45 seconds every time. You need to be able to, make that decision knowing that I am going to grow through this, and by doing so, I will acquire my own growth. It's not something that's going to be put upon me. It's not just something that's going to be given to me. It's actually going to be mine because I am going to do it and accomplish it myself. Okay. Therefore, nivra adam b'yetzer tov v'yetzer ra. Man is created. Just because I turned the page doesn't mean you too. I have a different version. Everybody, I'm sorry.
I was just looking. It's too early in the morning.
I know, right?
How much power you have over us?
Alkane.
And we're done.
All right, chapter 17.
Such a great class.
At a Daf Yomi Siyum, there's a guy at Badchen. He's like a kind of a Jewish comedian, basically, and he was saying, we finished Daf Yomi very early. We couldn't figure out why we finished so much before everybody else. So then we realized because the one who was giving the class had an Art Scroll Gemara. An Art Scroll Gemara has like 4 pages for every page. So every time he turned the page, we turned the page. So we got done, and in a month we were finished. Couldn't figure out why. Al-Kain, we're right before Bays, right before B or 2, whatever it says in there. Al-Kain, therefore, nivra adam b'yetzer tov v'yetzer ra. Therefore, a person is created with a good inclination and a bad inclination. V'abechira b'yadai, and the choice is in your hand. Lahatais atzma letzad shehu roitze, to guide yourself to go in the direction that you choose. Okay, now, v'ulam, Bays. However, liyais hadavar hazen nishlam karai. In order for this to be fully complete and done right, Gazra hachachma ha'alyayna, Hashem's great wisdom has decided, sheyiyah ha'adam murkav mishnei hafachim. A person needs to be a combination of 2 opposites. Dahainu, and they are min neshama sichlis v'zaka, the neshama which is intelligent and pure. The guf, and the body, which is artzi v'achor, which is earthly, physical, and achor usually means like disgusting or something that's not pleasant. Each one of these 2 powers is going to try to sway a person in its natural way to follow its path, to its own side. Dahainu, meaning, haguf l'chomrius, the body is going to draw a person to physical things. And the neshama is going to draw a person to spiritual things. And there will end up being between them a war. In the sense that if the neshama wins, the neshama will be elevated and the body will be elevated with it. And then this person will have acquired a level of perfection that was intended, even the body. However, if a person lets their physicality win over them, then then on the contrary, the neshama will be brought down and the body will be brought down. The body will be brought down and the neshama will be brought down with it. And then that person will not be appropriate, will not be able to reach perfection, and he will be pushed off from this system. To this person, this human being that Hashem created, we do have the ability to push down our physicality from before, our minds, our intelligence, and our neshama, and to be able to acquire perfection as we've described. Okay, so this is probably the most basic of all Musar ideas, and that is that every human being is made up of 2 parts. These 2 parts are so pronounced that many religions of the world have decided that there must be 2 powers, 2 deities. There must be 2 forces in the universe that are fighting, and we have that battle within us. Because it's so obvious that there are two forces within a person. There's the one that draws a person to do what's right, and there's the one that draws a person to do what's wrong. So you can have the the soul and the demon and the devil that's pushing us, and you can have the angels that are fighting against the whatever they call them, right? The bad angels. I don't know. I'm not familiar with all this stuff, but there's always these almost contradictions between what seem to be two different forces. Now we understand clearly Hashem Echad. Hashem is one. There are no two forces. There's only one force, and Hashem created us with a battle. We have decisions to make. And again, the reason we have decisions to make is in order for us to grow. Without a decision to make, there's no growing to be done. That's like angels. We have decisions to make. So now, to understand that, we have to realize that we have within us two powers. We have the body, the human physical mind, and then we have the neshama, the spiritual, the intelligence, the thinking mind. That's very different than the physical mind. What I mean is, the draw for a person to have honor. People want to be looked at highly. People want to feel they're respected. People want to feel like they're somebody in the eyes of other people. Where does that come from? That's not a spiritual thing. That's not sourced in spirituality. That's a product of a human mind. Okay, so I'm going to call that a physical emotion. Okay, then there's the desire to want to do good for others. That's a spiritual emotion. Okay, there's a desire of gratitude. That's a spiritual emotion. Okay, so we have, again, products of the physical mind, which are things like honor and lust and prestige, all the desires that we have, taivas, right? Those are all products of a physical mind. That should not be confused with the spiritual mind, the spiritual intelligence, which is what drives us to do what's right, to do good things. Those two things need to be separated. They can't be confused. So when we're talking about physical things, don't mean specifically physical in the sense that they're tangible, that you can touch them and feel them and see them. We're talking about anything that's a product of a physical mind. And then there's the other side, which is the neshama, the product of the neshama. Okay. So with this, we understand that there are these two forces that are constantly vying against each other. The Chavos Halvavos, the Duties of the Heart, one of the earliest Musar works, he writes that he has a whole debate between the mind and the body. And he calls them the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov, because that's really what they are. Our Yetzer Tov, what our good inclination, what wants us to do good, what drives us to make the right decisions, that is spiritual in nature. So, Rav Dessler, again, in Mechtam Eliyahu and Strive for Truth, he differentiates between a person who does something right for a spiritual reason versus someone who does something right for what we'll call a physical reason. So, for example, you might have somebody who is going to donate $1 million to charity. It could be a tax write-off, or it could even be better. It could be because somebody wants to be humanitarian. They want to help. Okay? Even that is not necessarily a spiritual decision. Because if a person is an atheist, and they say, I want to do this because I think people should be good to other people, even that, Rav Dessler says, might not be coming from the Yetzer Tov. Because we have to understand, the only thing that makes something good is because Hashem said to do it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no atheist in the foxhole.
Correct. We're talking about where everything is good and everything's comfortable. What's the motivation of the person to give that $1 million?
But I'm saying on some level, even an atheist can be driven in spiritual.
Yeah, of course. I'm just saying, we're trying to understand the decision-making process, and Rav Dessler says that it is possible for someone to make a correct decision, but even then not do it for the proper reason. The proper reason to be driven spiritually has to be because this is what Hashem said. So because if you're doing it because I feel like this is a good thing, then you have to realize that might not be. You might be wrong, because that's all subjective if you're coming from a perspective of a human being. Because what in one society is good and another society is not good. And what in one era or epoch of the world is acceptable or normal, and another is not. right? So we might think that something is good, but if it's a product of our own minds, that I decided this is good, so then it's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily good. So then what's driving you to do it is not your neshama. What's driving you to do it is because you have a physical desire to do for others, let's say, which generally is absolutely the best thing to do. But sometimes all it is you're feeding a desire that you have, and it's really self-serving. Right. You're doing it because it's what you want to do. And if tomorrow you have a change of heart and you want to do harm to others, you'll have the same desire.
It's not even that, if I could just interject. Some people, and you see this a lot, but people who end up in a psychiatric facility, inpatient, they do so much for other people, and it's very good, but their chesed has reached a point where it's toxic. And now they've done so much for other people, either in one, because they don't want to deal with their own issues, and doing good for other people makes them feel good, which is able to minimize and avoid really dealing with what they have to deal with, so they'll keep doing for other people. Or two is the fact that they've continuously done for other people, and now there's nothing left. They have no reciprocity, and they have like a quote unquote nervous breakdown. So there's if you doing is very good, but it has to be held together with gavor. It has to be held together with some degree of restraint.
It has to be because Hashem wants you to do it.
Otherwise, people hide behind doing good.
Right.
They avoid themselves. They avoid dealing with what they're doing in order to keep doing good for other people, and they're not really getting to the core of what they're supposed to be doing.
Right, and the motivation is really what it's at. The motivation is the question.
So how do you know which one you're doing it? Let's say there's a fundraising thing in shul. Mm-hmm. So now, how do you know what you're giving to is
excellent. So that's what addresses that, and he says, so how do you know what you're doing if you're doing it for the right reasons? He says, just tell yourself, I'm doing this because this is what Hashem said is the right thing to do.
And then it becomes the right thing to do.
That's it. Now you just guided your own motivation. Now, do you really believe that internally the first time you do that? Maybe not, but that's certainly how you're going to get there. So, yeah, that's the way it has to be. Now, sometimes, that's what it says, you need to ask. You need to ask Das Torah. You got to ask somebody who lives Torah, that makes all their decisions are based on Torah decisions, and then they'll be able to tell you what's the right thing to do. But until then, you always have to second guess yourself. You always have to ask yourself, what's my real motivation?
And not asking Das Torah, even if you want to go into that deeper, I'm not asking because I don't want to hear the answer, or I already know, and I know what I need to do. That's already self-serving. That's already not even near a realm of making a decision in a spiritual way at all. It's a very, very self-absorbed way of making decisions, because I'm not going to capitulate to the Das Torah, or I know what I need to do. Nobody else really knows what I need to do. Nobody knows me.
Right.
So there's a lack there, right? And Freud talks about this. There's the id, the ego, and the superego, and he really keeps broken down into nefesh, ruach, neshama, which is very interesting. And the id is the primal drive, the lust, the need to eat, to do the things that are very physical. You know, the ego is that middle ground where we're still driven by selfish things, which most of us are. Most of us truly, truly are, if you want to get to the heart of it all. And then there's a superego where we've gone beyond and we know what the right thing to do. And now that's what we're doing is the right thing to do. Not neglecting ourselves in that process, but just doing the right thing because we know it's the right thing to do.
Right. So even within the right thing, you have to know, how do I know?
Right.
How do I know? So for example, the city of Sodom had a very corrupt judicial system. They had police, they had courts, they had the whole things. They were completely corrupt. But they believed this was right. But it was so bad, and it was so toxic that Hashem had to destroy the entire city, because if that would have spread, it might have been where we're at today even.
I mean, I truly believe this is the battleground that we're all on in our daily lives. These last two paragraphs, it can really condense what it means to try to live a Torah life.
Absolutely, this is it.
Life. If you want to this is it. In these last two paragraphs, this is the battleground. We're all in it.
This is where it's at.
This is where
This is it.
Put your boots on.
That's right. It was Eliezer, Abraham's servant, who went to he went to Sodom, and somebody hit him. So he brought him to court. He said, "This guy hit me." He says, "Oh, okay. So now you have to pay him because he did a bloodletting service for you. So you need to pay him." So Eliezer said, "Oh."
Service.
He said, "Is that how it works?" So he picked up a rock and threw it at the judge, and he's bleeding. It's like, "Okay, you just pay him now. You don't have to pay me. You just pay him." But there are corrupt systems. There are corrupt systems out there. You know, I mean, everything. Even if we were to look at our own society, if we were to look at our own society from 100 years ago, where we would be today, it would not be. None of what we do today would be acceptable. Nothing. I mean, the mode of media, of dress, of speech, nothing is the same that it was even 100 years ago in this country.
Yeah. Or even in this town.
Or even in this town.
It's like the books that I found in my attic. And I told you about this. So my house used to belong to the United Methodist Church, and so
Nice.
that was their district office was there until 2014, from like back, like obviously when the house was built, whatever. So I found, among other things, records from their annual conventions each year. From the earliest one I found is from 1896 in my attic. Okay, so we're looking through it, and like Paul is just freaking out because he just loves this stuff. So and they talk about how the drinking in Savannah is a problem, and that there are people that are not.
They recognized that 100 years ago.
In 1896, and that people were not keeping the Sabbath. And they were they're out in their horse and carriage on the Sabbath, like all of these things. And I was like, I took pictures of it. It was the coolest thing. It's all handwritten calligraphy, like it was gorgeous, right? So, so even then, like you can see the transition in Savannah always being known. I feel like it's always been known as a
Drinking town?
scandalous place. So, like, yeah. So it was really like that. Yeah. It's all. There's no way that they would love what we're doing. I don't know if they.
Methodists just walked by the BBJ back then. They saw.
All right. Have a good one. All right, we will not be having class next week. It's going to be Erev Rosh Hashanah. No class next week.
Okay.
The following week we should be able to,
Okay.
but then after that's not going to happen until after Sukkot.
Right, I was gonna say.
Okay?
Then actually,
So off next week, on the following week, and then again after Sukkot.
I need to write that down.
Alrighty.
Hang up.